probably only about 8 feet or so from where that line runs through. There's root intrusion in it and some separation in some of the line. This could get expensive if it's an issue. It looks like they potentially even replaced this section of sidewalk. The sewer is more than likely tied into either the middle of the street or the far side of the street. It's probably the far side of the street, which is not fun. If they had to take up any portion and replace the line because of damage, they're actually impacting the sidewalk and the street, which the homeowner actually has to pay for. So that can take something that might cost several $1,000s to do and run it into the tens of thousands of dollars depending on the circumstance. Luckily, it's not a overly well-traveled street, so traffic control, all that kind of stuff is kind of modest in terms of expense, but this could get expensive if it's an issue. There's definitely 2 different areas that there's root masses. What we're doing right now is trying to get an idea of exactly where it's at so we can pace it off. It's a virtual certainty at this point that it's probably in the road somewhere. It's one of those things that it's also kind of like a coin flip. You know, usually, and it's not always, but usually that sewer main is on one side of the road or offset one side or the other. So you get one side of the road that's usually relatively lucky. If they have to dig into it, they may not have to impact the road, just the sidewalk. But then everybody else on the other side of the road gets screwed.
Maintenancing that person's sewers on the green belt of their home. Oh, I've only got to throw 1 basket. It's 45 feet to the sewer. This person, I've got to throw 96 or 104 feet, and then it just takes more time. It's harder for the machine to put as much torque to tear those roots out at that footage. Then their bill goes from 1 hour to 2 hours, where that one I'm done in 45 minutes. Most people don't know that what you see up top is almost mirrored down below. Fire in flushable wipes. I'll put my cutter in to cut up roots that are causing the blockage by snagging stuff, and it just tears these roots to shreds, and then I'll pull back a tensile strength wipe. Tell me that's flushable. I think Ferndale is actually trying to get that banned from flushing, but how are you going to enforce that and stop that?
Yeah, how are you going to tell who?
Like, no. But that is causing a lot of problems for them by people trying to be more conscientious of flushing that, but they don't break down fast enough.
Honestly, this is something that somebody should do every single year anyway, or at least every other year, in terms of having the sewer line snaked out if it's not fully PVC. So that's where it went from PVC to cast iron, and there's your first root mass.
32 clean out minus riser.
There's the second.
32.45.
You said they're 3-foot sections, so about 4 sections apart. Some interesting shit, isn't it? No pun intended. With these old clay crock lines, they usually come in 3 or 4 foot sections, and they have male and female unions. They're not bonded together or sealed, and the sealant that is used eventually degrades over time. So you end up with a scenario where as water flows down there, even though it's not under pressure, it can eventually start getting down in between those cracks, especially as roots want to intrude through that and start widening it just by them coming in. It can eventually erode the soil underneath, and you can get bellies. It's one of these things that when these systems are, 50, 60, 70 plus years old, eventually they have a lifespan. And although if you maintain it well from the beginning, it probably lasts you multiple lifetimes, because that material is not really going to degrade, or it's going to take, very, very long time. Problem is that you see some of the technology that's used in terms of the camera scopes, sending the cutters and stuff down there. That stuff just didn't exist even a few decades ago. Back in the 40s when houses like this were built and the system was installed, it was intended to be under the ground and never looked at again. People during that era just didn't know to even maintenance them. There were cleanouts installed, but as far as the knowledge base that's available today to have it kept up to a condition that'll last a lifetime, I think it just wasn't part of what actually occurred back then. On top of that, recognize that the only things that are supposed to be going down there are gray water, which is your showers, storm water, all that stuff, and then what comes out of you, Ezra. That's it. Unless it comes out of Ezra or out of the sink or shower, it shouldn't be going down there, right?